Chapter 641, Moving Fast Before Anyone Else Has the Chance to Do It. The plump middle-aged man suddenly realized why he felt that Tang Xiu was familiar when he first saw him. Before he was 100% sure, however, he asked with a look of anticipation on his face, "There's a young divine doctor named Tang Xiu in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital to my knowledge, are you that young miracle-working doctor? I never thought I would be that famous, to think that even you know name." Tang Xiu smiled. "That's right, it's me." Excited, the fat middle-aged man rubbed his hands and said, "Turns out it's really you, Divine Dr. Tang. Wow, I'm so lucky. I just came here and struck a huge business deal with you." With a playful smile, Tang Xiu asked, "Since you feel that lucky, can I have a bigger discount?" Ugh. The smile on the fat middle-aged man's face instantly froze. He let out a hollow laugh and awkwardly said, "I'll pass this time. Next time, yes. I'll give you a better price when we trade again later." "Deal." Tang Xiu nodded with a smile. "You won't gamble anymore since you already bought so many jades, right, Tang Xiu?" asked Long Zhengyu. "Why wouldn't I?" Tang Xiu chuckled. "Why not partake in the fun since the fun thing is there, right? Besides, maybe I'll get lucky and earn back all that I spent today, no?" His answer made Long Zhengyu at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh, and then said, "If you have such a good luck, then why do you need to do some business, then? I don't think you need that since you can become super rich by gambling on stones every day, no? Anyways, would you like to help load them into the car while I stroll around?" asked Tang Xiu with a smile. Thinking for a while, Long Zhengyu then nodded and said, "Fine with me. But remember to give me some pieces of jade articles after you carve some jadeware, okay?" "No problem." Tang Xiu smiled and promised him before pulling Tang Xiaohan with him. With Long Zhengyu staying to help, he wasn't afraid that the middle-aged man would pull some trick behind his back. Half an hour later, Tang Xiu saw an acquaintance in a shed, someone who he did not expect to meet here. Miao Wentong. Just as he was about to head towards Miao Wentong, however, Tang Xiaohan suddenly stopped his pace and pulled Tang Xiu's hands with some effort. "What's up?" asked Tang Xiu after turning around. Tang Xiaohan's brows were furrowed. He turned his head, pointed to a spot a few meters away and said, "There seems to be something there, master. It's like a thumping heart or something like that." "What?" Tang Xiu stared blankly and followed Tang Xiaohan's finger. His eyes immediately landed on a rectangular 2 meters high and a meter wide stone standing on the floor. The cuticle layer of the stone was a bit green. When his vision fell on the price tag on the stone below, however, his expression turned strange. It was written, 12 million yuan. "Let's go there and have a look." Pulling Tang Xiaohan to the front of that block of stone, Tang Xiu used his hand to touch it and released his spiritual sense. What shocked him was that he could feel something beating inside the stone. It was as Tang Xiaohan said, it was like the beating of a heart. What exactly is this thing? For a moment, Tang Xiu hesitated. Then, he instantly released his primal chaos force to seep into the raw stone. After his energy seeped into the interior of the stone, however, he could feel a suction force from the inside. Though it was not strong, his primal chaos force that had seeped into it was still siphoned away. "There's something unusual here." With a change in expression, Tang Xiu took his hand back and squatted in front of Tang Xiaohan. There was a complex expression on his face as he asked, "What exactly is it, Xiaohan? Can you elaborate as to how do you know clearly that something is beating inside?" "I don't know how either." Tang Xiaohan shook his head. "It's just a feeling. I can feel that there's no one there, but something is beating. Its beating rate is probably as fast as my heartbeat." "Is it a kind of perceptive ability?" Tang Xiu had never seen a situation such as Tang Xiaohan's at present. After contemplating for a while, he then called the staff and inquired, "How much is the base price for this raw stone?" "All the raw stones we have here already have a base price tag on it, sir," replied the staff with a smile. "If you want to buy this raw stone, you can have it for 12 million yuan. Let the deal be concluded, then." Tang Xiu nodded. "Give me your bank account number, I'll transfer the money." The employee was taken aback as a surprised look immediately covered his face. After nodding in response, he smilingly said, "You really have a keen eye, sir. Many people have set their eyes on this stone, but none of them made up their mind to buy it. Please follow me, we'll settle the formalities for the purchase inside." "Wait." A white-haired old man nearby suddenly came over from 7+ meters away. There was a fiery look in his eyes as he gently caressed an ornamental thumb ring made of nephrite in his hand. Tang Xiu and the staff halted at the same time and looked at the old man. The old man narrowed his eyes and smiled lightly as he said, "Little brother, could you give this raw stone to this old man? You can rest assured that I will not let you suffer a loss. I'll pay whatever stones you choose in this shed as long as it doesn't exceed 500,000 yuan. I don't need it. I'm not short on money." Tang Xiu shook his head. 1 million. Said the old man again. "Senior, please don't think of using the money to make me dizzy." Tang Xiu smiled. "I will never give up on something I've set my eyes on even if you give me 100 million yuan. The old man took a business card from his pocket, handed it over to Tang Xiu and said, "Young man, let me introduce myself. My name is Jing, the vice chairman of the China Jade Association. I'm also a jade sculptor. If you are willing to let me have this raw stone, I can introduce you to our country's Jade Association, and I can also help you to carve an article for free later. How about it? It turns out that you're Chairman Tian." Tang Xiu smiled. "May I ask, is your carving skills really good?" With a confident expression, Tian Jingnan replied with a self-assured tone, "Though I dare not say that I'm one of the best, there are not many people in China who are more skilled than me. Someone once offered me 5 million yuan, hoping that I could help him sculpt an article, but I refused him. As a matter of fact, I have set my eyes on this raw stone previously. But because I already purchased a lot of raw stones before, the funds I have with me here are not enough, so I called my son to send me more money. I just did not expect that shortly after, little brother took a fancy to it as well. I'm really sorry. I'm sympathetic with you but unable to comply with your request," said Tang Xiu with a smile. Tian Jingnan furrowed his brows. Little did he expect that he would receive such a reply after the narration, and yet this young man was still unwilling to give it to him. This situation made him feel a bit angry. However, as someone who had good self-control, he did not immediately blast it out though he was angry, and instead spoke again, "Little brother, you can name your condition. I'll definitely have it done as long as I can accept it. I don't have any condition to offer either." Tang Xiu shook his head. Finally, Tian Jingnan was unable to bear it anymore and said, "Young man, you are buying this raw stone with the thought of gambling on it, aren't you? Then how about I give you 5 million here and now and you give me this rough stone?" Tang Xiu did not respond to him anymore as he called the staff and walked to the rear. "What's the matter, Chairman Tian?" Two middle-aged men came over and one of them immediately asked upon seeing Tian Jingnan's angry expression. "I had set my eyes on a piece of raw stone, but someone else unexpectedly beat me to it." Tian Jingnan smiled wryly. "I offered him 5 million to give it up, but he simply ignored me." "Who could be so arrogant that he even did not give you face, Chairman Tian?" asked the man, astounded. "Never mind it, sigh," Tian Jingnan sighed with a helpless expression. "Since he doesn't want to give it to me, then I give up and that's it. As a matter of fact, I myself am not sure whether there are many jade materials inside that raw stone or not. Maybe its cuticle layer outside is a bit green, but there's nothing else inside it." "True that. The two men nodded simultaneously, showing that they also agreed with him. 10 minutes later, Tang Xiu and Tang Xiaohan walked out from the inside. He then saw Tian Jingnan, who had not left yet, and secretly forced a smile inwardly. However, since the old man neither did nor spoke anything excessive, he did not have any bad feelings for him either. With the help of the staff, several workers in the exhibition hall who were responsible for delivering the raw stones drove the flatbed cart and helped Tang Xiu put the raw stone on it, as Tang Xiu then led them to the shed where he bought the jade materials. "Well, you just bought a piece of raw stone block, Divine Dr. Tang? This block of stone looks good, and it has green traces on its outer cuticle layers. There should be jade inside it, shouldn't it?" The fat middle-aged man greeted and commented with a smile after observing the block of raw stone on the flatbed cart. "Who knows?" replied Tang Xiu. "I just thought that it's very likely that this block of stone would have jade or nephrite inside, so I just bought it." "How much did you spend on it?" asked the fat middle-aged man with a curious expression. 12 million, said Tang Xiu with a smile. "You're really a rich man, Divine Dr. Tang," said the plump middle-aged man while raising his thumb up. "You wasted more than 10 million casually just to bet on this block of stone. That boldness of yours is really admirable. I just play at random, though, and I won't buy too much." Tang Xiu smiled. "Anyways, I still need to trouble you, old brother, to help me deliver this thing to my place." "Got it, no problem," said the middle-aged man with a smile. Suddenly, a shout came from outside the shed. "Rise! Rise the bet!" Immediately, the guests inside the shacks, as well as many people outside, rushed toward the source of the voice. One could only gamble on a stone and place a bet before the stone was cut. For the convenience of many buyers, the guests may cut the raw stones after purchasing them and see the results of their gambling methods on the spot. Long Zhengyu seemed to be interested and said, "How about having a look at it?" Tang Xiu pondered for a moment, and then nodded and said, "Let's have a look, then." "I have seen some guests gambling on it, but none of them caused such a stir." The fat middle-aged man hesitated for a short while. He then gave orders to his staff and followed them out, saying, "Divine Dr. Tang, do you know how I made my family's fortune? It was exactly through this gambling on stones. About more than 10 years ago, I went to some place in the southern region and brought 20,000 yuan with me, but little did I expect that I would accidentally find this gambling on stone event back then, and even joined in the fun. I spent more than 1,000 yuan to buy blocks of stones, but to my surprise, the gains I made back then were thousands of times more. Long story short, it can be said that I got rich overnight back then, with tens of millions of yuan." Chapter 642, Monstrously Talented Person. Tang Xiu took time to observe the facial contour of the fat middle-aged man. The man indeed had an inborn facial contour of good fortune from the heavens. Though he may not become some super rich man, having a net worth of more than 1 billion wouldn't be a problem. Song Hao. It was the name of this fat middle-aged man, of the Miao ethnicity descent, who came out of the Miao region to make his livelihood outside the region. He was very intelligent, with quite a vision and out-of-the-ordinary bearing. Through his story, Tang Xiu knew that he became rich overnight more than 10 years ago and had a wealth worth tens of millions of yuan. The man, however, did not get bewitched by the sudden fall of wealth and even realized the amazing profits offered by the jade market afterward. He began to study everything about jades, constantly consulting the experts on the subject, and kept lingering in the major jade trading market without stopping, and even repeatedly worked in the mine producing jade. After several years accumulating all that knowledge, he gradually found out some doorways and then started to involve himself in the business as a middleman, and as a buyer using his silver tongue and the knowledge he had grasped. He then slowly accumulated wealth and eventually amassed more than 1 billion net worth at present. Divine Dr. Tang, gambling on stones is all about your eyes and vision. Luck only accounts for a minuscule part of it. This line of water is very deep, and you better not rush to bet rashly if you don't grasp it, said the fat middle-aged man in a whisper. No worries. Tang Xiu chuckled. I'm not the kind of man who got jealous and envious for the other's wealth. My main purpose in coming to this exhibition center is to buy jades, to begin with. I won't waste too much money since I already bought some from you here. Of course, I'm going to play and buy it if I got a good hunch and the price is not that high, though. Song Hao was well aware that Tang Xiu was not short on money. He was, after all, the celebrated young divine doctor who could make a lot of money by relying on his superb medical expertise. Who never had a headache nowadays? More so that those super-rich people would probably be willing to spend a huge sum of money just to seek his medical treatment, if they had some incurable diseases. After a short while, the group then came to the place where two sheds were separated, along with streams of people. Not only the shed had a massive number of raw stones but also had a stone cutter. Hundreds of people gathered nearby, and their eyes were now staring at the stone-cutting expert in blue overalls. Precisely speaking, their eyes were focused at the football-sized stone that was being carried by the stone-cutting expert. Young man, you bought this stone for a total of 2,000 yuan. Now that you have it cut and there happens to be green inside, it shows that you have one. How about you give me this stone for 2 million yuan? A well-dressed middle-aged man next to the stone-cutting expert looked at the young man in front and spoke out his offer. I'll pay 3 million. 5 million. Two voices sounded nearly at the same time just as the well-dressed middle-aged man's voice faded away. The one who bid 5 million was a young man whose looks were ordinary but exuded the aura of an upper person. He looked like around 26 to 27 of age, and he was accompanied by two people, a young man and a young woman. The owner of the stone, the excited young man, looked so happy and immediately said as though he was afraid that the bidder would take back his words, 5 million it is. Transfer the money to me now, and I'll sell you this stone. The young man who offered 5 million yuan nodded with satisfaction. He nodded to the young woman beside him and the 5 million yuan were quickly transferred to the bank account, given by the owner of the stone. Do you want to polish this stone? Asked the stone-cutting expert. Polish it, said the young man who bought the stone without hesitation. The stone-cutting expert nodded without a word and carefully polished the stone in his hand. Along with his movements, the green color on the stone became more and more vivid, and after several minutes, a palm-sized green color on the stone presented itself before everyone's eyes. Wait! A voice suddenly sounded amid the crowd as Jing, accompanied by two men, quickly squeezed forward. His eyes fell on the young man and smilingly said, Young man, how about selling this stone to me? Since you've spent 5 million, I'm willing to buy it for 10 million yuan. I apologize, but I'm not short on money, said the young man with a smile. Jing's breath stagnated. After hesitating for a moment, he offered again, 20 million. If you're willing to sell this stone to me, I'll pay you 20 million yuan. A smile outlined on the corner of the young man's mouth, yet he still shook his head and said, I'm sorry. I'm only interested in gambling on the stones. It doesn't matter to me whether I'll earn or lose big since what I really enjoy is the process of cutting the stones and polishing them. Master, please continue. With a helpless expression, Jing shook his head. He felt like that he was really out of luck this year. The stone he set his eyes on previously had somebody beat him to it, and now that he found that this raw stone probably contained jade of good quality, the other party was unwilling to sell it yet again. Amid the crowd, Tang Xiu stood without speaking. He had secretly covered the stone with his perception and secretly lamented on the luck possessed by that young man. That jade material contained jadeite inside, and it was also the type of emperor green jadeite. Its value would be at least 9 digits once it was taken out. Let's go, said Tang Xiu with a smile while pulling Long Zhengyu around. Long Zhengyu hesitated. He wryly smiled after realizing that Song Hao also followed Tang Xiu. He shot a deep gaze at the young man who bought the jade material first and then chased after Tang Xiu. Why did you rush to pull me back, Tang Shou? Asked Long Zhengyu. We hadn't finished watching that good play. Gloating over someone else's misfortune when they lost in their gamble shows that we are nothing but pricks with ill character. In case we beat them in the gamble, it will just add more to their jealousy and envy toward us. Either way is not a good thing, a troublesome thing, I should say. So why bother? Said Tang Shou with a light smile. You're a paradox, mate. Long Zhengyu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh upon hearing this and then said, never mind. You don't want to watch, then we'll not watch. Anyways, do you still want to play? If you don't, let's just take the time to send these jades back. Let's call it a day. Tang Shou shook his head and lightly smiled. A few hours later, after the container truck sent all the jades and stones to Southgate Town and unloaded them in the courtyard, Tang Shou transferred the money to Song Hao and sent him away. What are you planning to do next, Tang Shou? Asked Long Zhengyu, who looked somewhat bored. Rest at home and let Xiaohan get used to the situation at home before going to the exhibition center again in the afternoon, replied Tang Shou. You're going to the exhibition center again? Asked Long Zhengyu, surprised. I got nothing to do, so I might as well go there to have some fun again. Tang Shou shrugged his shoulders. What about you? What's your plan for today? I'm going home first. Long Zhengyu said. Besides, I must go to Nine Dragons Island a couple days later, so I need to tend to some things here in Star City before I leave. That's right. If you run into that young man who bought that stone today, you must be on guard against him. That guy has a high knowledge like some kind of demon. Tang Shou dazed for a second and the appearance of the young man who gave off the vibe of upper-class nobility appeared inside his head. He then asked immediately, who exactly is he? He's Chu Yuan, the heir apparent of the Imperial Garden from Shanghai, the owner of the Imperial Effulgent Group, and the founder of the Imperial Wherewithal Ventures, answered Long Zhengyu. Tang Shou slightly furrowed his brows. The name Imperial Garden was somehow familiar to him. It was like he had heard it somewhere but couldn't remember where. Is he very resourceful? Long Zhengyu was silent for half a minute, as he then faintly said, he's far more than resourceful. He's simply a devilishly talented man. The wealth he possesses is comparable to any prominent family in the country, and he has armed forces behind his back that can make people's hair stand erect. His influence is not limited to the business world, even inside the military. Tang Shou's complexion changed and tempestuous waves rose inside his heart. He was perfectly well aware of the existence of the genuine prominent families in the country such as the Tang and Yao families. They had a robust heritage and deep roots, along with colossal wealth to boot. The armed forces under these families were also very strong. And yet, that Chu Yuan was comparable to those genuine prominent families. What exactly was his origin? While gazing deeply at Long Zhengyu, Tang Shou asked, why do I feel like you seem to know him well? You're mistaken. What I know about him is close to negligible. Long Zhengyu shook his head. Appearances can be deceiving, and the depth of the sea cannot be measured. The Imperial Garden has been in the existence for hundreds of years. Even the four major families in the turbulent times of war were deeply affected by it. Even in the anti-Japanese war resistance period, it was too many to count how many outstanding talented people emerged from the Immortal Garden and turned into the War of Resistance heroes. Although those Imperial Gardens people all left their positions after the end of the War of Resistance and disappeared from all walks of life, the Imperial Garden was always the Imperial Garden, as it has always been the source of dread and wariness for those in power from generation to generation. What I know about Chu Yuan is not much, but I know way too much about the Imperial Garden. In a flash, Tang Shou seemed to realize the meaning behind Long Zhengyu's explanation. He nodded silently and then said, I see. Go tend to your things, then. Anyways, let's gather together before you leave for Nine Dragons Island. I should still be here in Star City in the near future. After complying, Long Zhengyu then left the car for Tang Xiu. As a matter of fact, what he explained to Tang Xiu was not much, just merely those words. However, not only that had an impact on Tang Xiu but also on himself. He originally did not want to mention this Chu Yuan name, because Chu Yuan was actually his goal, a target and an objective he had been striving towards all his life. In the villa courtyard, Gu Yin, whose face was curious, observed the tranquil Tang Xiaohan who silently stood at the side. She wanted to speak with him but was worried that Tang Xiaohan was someone who was not easy to get along with. Finally, Tang Xiu's eyes fell on Tang Xiaohan after Long Zhengyu left. He turned and waved to Gu Yin and then smilingly said, "Yin, come here, I'll introduce you to him. His name is Tang Xiaohan. You can call him junior brother or Xiaohan." Gu Yin stepped forward. After adorably nodding in response, she reached out her hand to Tang Xiaohan. But when she realized that Tang Xiaohan's eyes could not see, she immediately grabbed his hand and said, "Hello, junior brother. I'm your senior sister, Gu Yin. I should be older than you, but only a few years older at the most." Tang Xiaohan smiled all of a sudden and replied, "Hi, senior sister. Are we going to be a family later?" Gu Yin looked up to see Tang Xiu. Seeing that the latter slightly nodded to her, she immediately said with a smile, "We are going to be a family later, junior brother." Acknowledging master for a day means that he's a father for life. We are all master's children. A master for a day is a father for life. Inwardly, Tang Xiaohan recited this sentence silently for a few dozen times. Only then did he firmly nod and said, "I'm very happy. I have family members, more so, I have two now." "What you said is incorrect, junior brother," said Gu Yin with a smile. "There are not only two family members. You'll have a lot of family members in the future." Chapter 643, Jade Beauty. Seeing the two children getting along well made Tang Xiu feel very satisfied. After leaving Tang Xiaohan to Mu Qingping's care, he stored a large number of jades and stones into his interspatial ring in front of Mu Qingping and Gu Yin without trying to conceal anything, and then went alone to the study room on the second floor. Imperial Garden. This entity seemed to be a very mysterious yet extremely low-key existence. In today's society, the bigger the industries, the harder and more difficult it was to keep their secrets concealed. If the Imperial Garden did have many talented people, it was truly an amazing and powerful feat in and of itself. To obtain more understanding about the situation with the Imperial Garden, Tang Xiu dialed Gu Xiaoshue's number. And what surprised him was that, although she knew some facts in regards to the Imperial Garden, yet what she knew was not that much either. However, she informed him about something that made him pay great attention to, that was, the Imperial Garden was a power represented the Tai, or the ultimate unity, one among the three arts in China. After surfing the internet searching for information about it, Tang Xiu learned about these three arts in detail: Tai, ultimate unity, Qimen, strange doors, and Lu Ren, divination lineage. These three formed the three arts, which were the three great schools of prediction, divination arts of the ancient Chinese people. The ultimate unity emphasized on the heavenly elements to conjecture the affairs of the state and its politics. The strange doors emphasized on the earthly elements to measure collective affairs of the society, whereas the divination lineage emphasized on the humanly elements to divine the human affairs. The occult sect, who represented the strange doors to measure collective affairs in society, had the fame that was spread far and wide, but the fearful Imperial Garden, who represented the ultimate unity to conjecture the affairs of the nation and its politics, did not have such a visible resounding fame at all. After a long period of time, Tang Xiu shut down the laptop. There was a pensive and ruminating look on his face, yet there was wariness inside him toward the Imperial Garden. It was because the strange doors had many powers that represented it, whereas the ultimate unity only had this one. In other words, the Imperial Garden was likely able to arm wrestle all the powers representing the strange doors. With hundreds of years of history, and even longer, the foundation and heritage of this entity were probably very deep, reaching the point that it was very terrifying at present. Unless they offend me, then I won't attack them. But they must be ready to accept my counter-strike if they do. The Imperial Garden may be formidable, but I don't fear them. If the Imperial Garden people choose to coexist in peace with me, then I won't deny them either. But if they dare to provoke me, no matter how powerful they are, I'll make them bleed and fracture their bones, for they are coming for a lesson written in blood. Tang Xiao lit up a cigarette and took a few deep puffs. He then looked at the time and found that it was already noon. After finishing the cigarette, he headed to the dining room on the first floor. Since his parents had yet to come back, he had a lunch first and instructed Mu Qingping to take care of Xiaohan before leaving the villa. Gambling on stones. It was an activity he was no stranger to. He once used his skills and earned quite a lot from gambling previously, and now that he ran into such an opportunity to make a fortune, it was a chance he did not want to miss. At 1 p.m., he returned to the Star City Convention and Exhibition Center. The number of people in the venue now was only half than in the morning because it was lunchtime. Tang Xiao circled around the sheds inside once. He was quite satisfied since he finally found hundreds of good quality stones after touching it personally, and using his spiritual sense to examine them. Among them were more than a dozen jade materials and jadeites that were of top quality. Your business seems to be not too lively here, boss. After entering the shed in great strides, Tang Xiao observed the inside of this several hundred square meters shed. Other than 2 stonecutter machines, there were 2 white-haired old men inside, and he immediately spoke to them with a smile. One of the old man wearing reading glasses was holding a cup of hot tea and casually waved at him. He replied with a lazy tone, "We just had lunch, so it's naturally not lively here. Anyhow, are you here to have the stones cut, little brother?" "Having stones cut is a sure thing, but the number of stones I'm going to purchase will be quite a lot, though," said Tang Xiao with a smile. "So, I have the intention to rent this shed this afternoon for that purpose. 2 seniors, please quote your price." Another old man in a Chinese tunic suit and with a walking stick next to him waved his hand and smilingly said, "You're mistaken, young man. I'm not a cutting stone expert. I'm just his old friend coming to visit Star City, so I came here to have lunch with him. Old Huang, this little brother wants to rent your shed, what do you say about it?" The old man with the reading glasses smilingly said, "What's your name, little brother?" "Tang Xiao," answered Tang Xiao. "Old Huang, you should have heard that well-known young miracle-working doctor, right?" asked the old man in Chinese tunic suit. "It's exactly one of my purposes in coming here. To have a chat with you about this young divine doctor of the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, to see if you're willing to find an opportunity to invite that young doctor to treat that leg of yours." The old man with reading glasses looked surprised. He stood up to observe Tang Xiao a few times and curiously asked, "I have heard about the name of that young divine doctor, too. But I would never have thought that this little brother is actually him." Tang Xiao slightly squinted his eyes. He examined the old man's legs and found that his left leg obviously had hidden injuries. His left leg was much lower, and he would definitely be slightly lame when he walked. After a moment's contemplation, Tang Xiao said, "May I ask your name, senior?" The old man wearing reading glasses smiled and said, "You can call me Master Huang. Can you show me your left leg?" Tang Xiao nodded and asked. Master Huang's eyes lit up and immediately nodded. After a few minutes of examination, Tang Xiao found that Master Huang's left leg had its curved joint injured internally due to multiple bones dislocations, and even bone fractures. After retracting his hands, Tang Xiao spoke to him, "I can treat the internal injuries of your leg joint." A happy expression could be seen on Master Huang's face as he immediately said, "It will trouble you, Divine Dr. Tang, so I'm willing to pay no matter how much it is. Is your leg that important to you? If you feel so, how about renting this shed to me and help me cut the stones?" asked Tang Xiao. Master Huang instantly understood Tang Xiu's intention and replied without hesitation. Money is nothing but worldly possessions that are not really connected to us. Divine Dr. Tang, if you really can heal my leg, you can rent this shed and the labor free of charge. Deal. Tang Xiu smiled in response. Anyways, you can chat here, two seniors. I'm going to purchase the stones I take fancy in and will deliver them here later. All right, said Master Huang quickly. At this time, a slim figure walked into the shed from the outside. She wore a white coat and a beige silk scarf. Her shining long black hair was flowing, and the most notable thing about her was her face, as it was covered with a white veil down to her nostrils, hindering people from seeing her true appearance. Tang Xiu raised his brows and instantly released his spiritual sense. After which, he could easily see the woman's appearance. Then he got secretly startled because he found that the woman was very beautiful. Her age was about 25 or 26 years and her beauty was not inferior to that of Kong Xia and Mu Weining at all. The moment Tang Xiu released his spiritual sense, the woman's came to a halt all of a sudden and there was a confused expression in her black gem-like eyes. Her gaze then fell on Tang Xiu very quickly. As she saw that he seemed to have the intention to leave, she immediately called out, "Please wait, sir." Tang Xiu halted his pace and found that the woman was walking toward him, and then immediately asked, "Is there something you need from me?" The woman let out a faint smile. A smile that immediately gave Tang Xiu a feeling like he was bathing amid a spring breeze. Then, her beautiful voice sounded, "My name is Shui Yu, sir, and you can call me Miss Shui, or the Yu. May I know your name, sir?" "I'm Tang Xiu," replied Tang Xiu with a tranquil expression. Shui Yu nodded gently in response. An unusual glint appeared in her eyes as she inquired, "May I know whether Mr. Tang comprehends the divinatory art of heavenly divination? Do you, by chance, understand the feng shui profound art?" Her inquiry secretly made Tang Xiu vigilant inwardly, yet he maintained unfazed on the surface and said, "I don't know about that, nor do I comprehend it. You have a particular aura, Mr. Tang, a very unusual and special one. I can't see through your fate, nor am I able to see clearly what your soul is," replied Shuiyu with a doubtful expression. What? What? Two startled voices resounded. They belonged to Master Huang and the old man in Chinese tunic suit, who exclaimed at the same time. Master Huang observed Tang Xiu a few times with an unusual expression, then shifted his vision to Shuiyu, as he frowned and asked, "Was what you said true, that you can't divine his destiny nor his soul at all?" "That's true." Shuiyu seemed to know the Master Huang duo and gently replied with a nod. "That's impossible," Master Huang muttered. "Unless, else you shouldn't be unable to see him clearly? Could it be?" "That's the possibility indeed," said Shuiyu, nodding with a serious expression. Tang Xiu looked at the two people as he shook his head and said, "You two, please don't make such riddling remarks. Just speak it out freely if you have something to say." "Never mind, it's nothing." Shuiyu shook her head. "We're presumptuous for bothering you already, Mr. Tang. Please forgive us. Aren't you going to purchase some stone materials, Divine Dr. Tang?" Master Huang quickly echoed. "It's best to go early and return earlier." Tang Xiu nodded in response and then turned around. He could feel the eyes of the three people still staring at him after he left the shed. He realized that he just had inadvertently encountered three special people judging from Shuiyu's words, and the shock displayed by Master Huang and that old man in a Chinese tunic suit. Those who could see through others' destiny and fate and being able to observe the existence of others' souls, were definitely people belonging to the three arts. But he did not know which one they belonged to. Inside the shed, Master Huang and the old man in Chinese tunic suit immediately bowed and cupped their fists toward Shuiyu, the moment Tang Xiu's back disappeared outside. Their expression was that of respect as they said, "Your Excellency Jade Beauty, we apologize for not going out to meet you. Please forgive us. Please don't be overcourteous, two elders, said Shuyu softly. I came here to seek fine-quality jades. But I seem to have bumped into a very interesting person here. Master Huang and the old man in Chinese tunic exchanged looks and forced smiles, as the former then said, Jade Beauty. The garden's young master is also visiting the exhibition center. Shall we inform him on your behalf about your arrival? Shuiyu's black eyebrows frowned, and then asked, what's he doing here? The same as you, looking for fine jades, answered Master Huang. It seems that he also perceived the direction of life on the jades. It's been 2 years since the last time I saw him, and it seems his skills have improved a lot. Anyways, I need you to help me cut the stones, old Huang. So don't rent your shed to the other guests today. Master Huang was taken aback and then immediately said with a wry, helpless expression, maybe I can't fulfill your wish, Jade Beauty. I just agreed to rent it to Divine Dr. Tang, the one who just left. He wants to cut the stones here, too? Asked Shuiyu. Yes. Master Huang nodded. Shuiyu pondered for a moment and then asked, why do you address him as Divine Dr. Tang? What exactly is the reason? Is he a very skillful Chinese medical practitioner? The old man in Chinese tunic interjected, Jade Beauty. Tang Xiu is the famous young divine doctor of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. His medical expertise is superb, and many skillful senior practitioners of the Chinese medical field hold him in high esteem. Even the direct disciple of divine Dr. Gui Jianshou once spoke about it personally that his medical expertise is far inferior to divine Dr. Tang's. Jade Beauty seemed a bit taken aback. After giving it a thought, she said, since he has rented your shed, then I won't trouble you. But he's very unusual and strange. If there's no formidable figure obstructing the heaven and concealing his fate, then the issue may lie on he himself. All right, go tend to your things. I'm going to follow and observe him. Chapter 644, Gender Equality. Previously, Tang Xiu had already circled around the sheds inside out and had already memorized the stones he wanted to buy. After further observation, however, he learned that the price of those stones was not subject for bargaining. He could only buy them or go elsewhere if he did not agree with the price. But he could bargain for the jade materials taken out from the raw stones. Hi boss, I want these 2 stones. After Tang Xiu came to the nearby shed, he pointed to the 2 stones he had inspected before, and the total price of these 2 raw stones was 28,000 yuan. After paying it by swiping his bank card, he then looked for a cart driver and put the 2 stones onto the cart. Mr. Tang. Shuiyu walked in lotus-like steps and leisurely came to Tang Xiu's front. Her eyes swept through the cart as she lightly smiled and said, do you like gambling on stones, Mr. Tang? Tang Xiu did not want to have more contact with this woman, because the dozens of jades and stones he had his eyes on contained fine-quality jades and jadeites. Furthermore, he had decided to let Master Huang cut the stones, and once those jades and jadeites were revealed, his identity would be the subject of suspicion by this particularly strange woman. I just play at random, replied Tang Xiu in a perfunctory manner. I also want to gamble on the stones, so my visit here to play will be worth it, said Shuiyu with a smile. Anyways, would you mind if I accompany you in choosing the stones, Mr. Tang? Tang Xiu furrowed his brows slightly and pondered for a moment before replying, I'm sorry. I've already chosen some good stones previously, so I won't stay in each shed for a long time. If Miss Shui wants to pick stones, please feel free to do so as you will. Having said that, he simply did not give Shuiyu a chance to speak and headed straight to the next shed. Annoying troubles could be avoided if he avoided it, more so that he could not let anyone learn about the special method he employed. And naturally, the fewer people who knew it, the better. Shuiyu was dumbfounded. She had never encountered a person who spoke to her in such a perfunctory manner, and even so bluntly and flatly refused her request like this. He did not even give her a chance to speak at all? From her childhood to now, Shuiyu had met many people and experienced many things, But never once had anyone ever rejected her, more so with that repelling attitude. He definitely has something strange about him. Shuiyu steeled her heart. That intense aura haunted her, so she chased Tang Xiu's back. Regardless of whether he did not want her to follow him, she wanted to see and comprehend the methods Tang Xiu used to gamble on the stones. Tang Xiu, who had entered another shed, was keenly aware that Shuiyu was following him. Though he felt annoyed that this woman was insensible, he could not straightly drive her out since the woman did come to talk to him again. After spending 1.6 million yuan in this shed to buy several stones, Tang Xiu led the cart pusher away. As for Shuiyu, she kept maintaining a distance of 7+ meters away from Tang Xiu. She did not intervene in Tang Xiu's purchases, nor did she talk much. There was a curiosity in her eyes as her vision paced back and forth between Tang Xiu and the stones. For nearly an hour, Tang Xiu hired a total of 6 cart drivers and spent more than 42 million yuan to purchase dozens of stones. The biggest of these stones, however, was priced at 28 million yuan and fully occupied a small cart that could hold a few chunks of stones, weighing 200 to 300 kilograms. "Aren't you tired of following me for nearly an hour already, Miss Shui?" Tang Xiu finally stopped and looked at Shuiyu with an annoyed expression. As though being unable to see that Tang Xiu was annoyed, Shuiyu smirked and said, "I'm just very curious about you, Mr. Tang. That's why I want to get to know you more. Besides, the way you chose the stones looks very casual, and I admire that." With an indifferent expression, Tang Xiu replied, "Do you think I must feel honored because of what you told me?" "Well, needless to say, just let me see whether the stones you picked contain jades or jadeites," said Shuiyu, shaking her head. Tang Xiu thought for a while and asked, "Will you leave if I ask I to leave now?" "I will leave and go to chat with Master Huang," said Shuiyu with a nod. "Let's get to the point here, shall we?" "What do you really want?" asked Tang Xiu. "I really just want to know more about you." "I don't have any other intention," said Shuiyu. "I heard from Master Huang previously that you're the young divine doctor from Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. For someone so young such as you to achieve such admirable accomplishments in the Chinese medical field, shows that you are an extraordinary person. Perhaps, you're highly likely the same type of person as I am." Tang Xiu's brow stretched out. He faintly smiled and said, "Then I'd like to ask you what type of people you are, and from where you came from?" For a moment, a hesitating look appeared on Shuiyu's face. She gently raised her hands and made a series of gestures. Then, she said, "If you can understand these gestures I just showed you, you'll know who I am and where I come from." Tang Xiu stared blankly since he did not know all the hand signals showed by Shuiyu at all. After thinking about it, he eased down his vigilance and said, "Maybe we are not the same type of people you suspect we are since I can't understand those gestures you showed me. Neither can I guess where you are from. You want to follow me and I can't drive you away either. Follow me if you want. But..." There was somewhat disappointed expression in Shuiyu's eyes, but she still asked after hearing that Tang Xiu permitted her to follow him, "But what?" "You know, in the society where men and women are equals, don't you feel ashamed to see these cart drivers working so hard? Take a look at this cart driver, he's pushing a loaded cart weighing 200 to 300 kilograms. Isn't it quite exhausting?" Shuiyu was utterly dumbfounded and stared at Tang Xiu in disbelief. She opened her mouth but could not even speak out anything since she did not know what to say at all. Did he want her to help the cart driver to push the cart? Tang Xiu's face looked cold. He intentionally showed an impatient expression, waved his hand and said, "Push the cart if you want to follow me, but please do leave otherwise. I still can cut the stones without going to Master Huang, but I don't want any idlers to follow me around." Just as his voice faded away, he turned his head and directly left. Dumbfounded and tongue-tied, Shuiyu watched Tang Xiu walk for more than 10 meters before coming back to her senses. She shook her head with an expression of being at a loss whether she had to cry or laugh. After watching the cart driver push the cart strenuously, she quickly caught up to him and helped him push the cart. At the intersection tens of meters away, the ordinary-looking Chu Yuan that gave off a vibe of superior nobility was coming out from another aisle along with two people, a young man and a woman. Behind them were two carts loaded with stone materials pushed by its two drivers at a moderate pace. Chu Yuan's pace suddenly came to a halt when he saw the cart convoy on the left side. His eyes finally fell on a woman wearing suede mink fur attire and a beige veil, Shuiyu. Dumbfounded and baffled. Never once in his dreams Chu Yuan ever expected that the famous Jade Beauty, Shuiyu, would help a cart driver one day, pushing the car under the watchful eyes of many people. Since when did she need to do something by herself? Boss, she's the Jade Beauty. The young man behind Chu Yuan wore a disbelieving expression and spoke in a toned-down voice. I see her, too, said Chu Yuan with a nod. At present, Tang Xiu had already spotted Chu Yuan as well as the young man and woman behind him, and two carts being pushed by its drivers. His eyes swept over the two carts and remembered the words Long Zhengyu told him, Chu Yuan, the heir apparent of Shanghai's Imperial Garden, the owner of Imperial Effulgent, and the founder of Imperial Wherewithal Ventures. Perhaps he and Shuiyu are people of the same path. Tang Xiu turned his head to glance Shuiyu, who was helping push the cart behind him. He immediately wore an unfazed look as he continued walking forward. As he brushed past Chu Yuan, his eyes swept over the scarlet jade ornament hanging on Chu Yuan's waist. It was made of blood jade, a very precious fine jade. Any piece of ornament made of blood jade was a priceless treasure. Behind, the Jade Beauty also saw Chu Yuan and her brows raised. She released the cart and stopped her pace in front of Chu Yuan and spoke in a toned-down voice, paying respect to the Imperial Garden's young master. Chu Yuan let out a faint smile. He glanced at the 6 carts and said, It's been 2 years since the last time we met, right, Jade Beauty? I did not expect that I would meet you here in Star City when I left Shanghai previously. Did you come here to gamble on stones? You misunderstood, Chu Yuan, said Shuiyu. I didn't buy these stones, but Mr. Tang in front of me. I'm only helping him. Mr. Tang? There was a strange expression on Chu Yuan's face. He followed the direction of Shuiyu's gaze and narrowed his eyes as he saw Tang Xiu's back. He then knitted his brows and asked, Who exactly is this Mr. Tang? While pointing to the front, Shuiyu started walking forward again and said, He has very deep knowledge of medicine, and is also a very interesting man. Very interesting man? Chu Yuan slightly furrowed his brows, the revelation raising vigilance inside his heart. He liked Shuiyu, and all the people in the Imperial Garden knew his feelings toward her. Although he had never seen Shuiyu's true appearance, the cold and chilly nature of this woman concealed the gentleness and warmness she had beneath, just like the character possessed by jades. He was a proud man and had beaten hundreds of outstanding peers in the Imperial Garden by virtue of his true abilities, eventually becoming the first-in-line successor of the Imperial Garden. He had met too many women to count, but only Shuiyu could attract him. Now that he saw her unexpectedly interested in another young man, it made him wary of him. Would you mind introducing us? Though it was a seemingly casual inquiry, Chu Yuan's eyes were completely fixated on Shuiyu. He believed that the eyes were the window of the soul, and he wanted to see more information in her eyes. Shuiyu hesitated for a moment before replying, Mr. Tang has a strange disposition. If I were to take you to see him rashly, I'm afraid that he will be annoyed and repel us. As a matter of fact, I must thicken my face to barely be able to follow him because he said that he doesn't like any idlers following him around, so I can only help by pushing the cart. Chu Yuan's eyes squinted, and the revelation piqued his interest toward this Mr. Tang. For an ordinary young man seeing Shuiyu, even if they couldn't see her appearance clearly, yet her body's figure, bearing, and beautiful eyes would make them salivate. And yet, this Mr. Tang seemed to play hard to get? Did he really not have any interest in Shuiyu at all? Then, where are you heading now? asked Chu Yuang. To Master Huang's place. He has rented his shed, answered Shui Yu. Chapter 645, A Game of Gambling. As Tang Xiu strode into the shed, he saw Master Huang and the old man in Chinese tunic suit sitting on the couch and having a chat. He let out a smile and said, Master Huang, I'm afraid that I'll have to trouble you today since I bought a lot of stones. I wonder if you can have them all done this afternoon. Master Huang directly got up and looked at the 6 carts that came in behind Tang Xiu. He forced a smile and said, unless I work overtime it can't be done. It's all right. Just do your best, said Tang Xiu. We'll continue tomorrow if you can't finish it. Master Huang replied and then greeted the 6 cart pushers, telling them to move the stones to the nearby stone cutter machine. Just as the stones were being moved, his expression changed into a respectful one as he quickly welcomed Xu Yuan and Shui Yu who came inside. Paying respect to the Imperial Garden's young master. Paying respect to the Imperial Garden's young master. The old man in Chinese tunic suit also greeted with a respectful expression. Please don't be over-courteous, 2 garden elders. Chu Yuan lightly smiled. I just happened to meet Jade Beauty and then learned that Mr. Tang has rented Senior Huang's shed, so I followed them. By the way, I'm very pleased to meet you, Mr. Tang. Very pleased to meet you too, Mr. Chu, said Tang Xiu lightly. Does Mr. Tang already know me? Asked Chu Yuan, looking startled. The heir apparent of Shanghai's Imperial Garden, the owner of Imperial Effulgent Group, and the founder of the Imperial Wherewithal Venture. If I don't know such a celebrated and influential person like you, then I'm an ignorant man with very limited knowledge and scanty information, no? The vigilance inside Chu Yuan's heart increased several points after hearing Tang Xiu's answer. The other party knew that much details about him, but he did not know anything about the other. Such a feeling was very bad to have. Though he did not like this feeling, by virtue of his extremely high intelligence, he could still reply while maintaining his composure. Mr. Tang is kidding me. By the way, may I know what field Mr. Tang engages in? I'm just a student, answered Tang Xiu. While pointing to the stones unloaded from the carts, Chu Yuan let out a slight smile and said, for a student to be able to afford so many stones, such a student would be very rare, no? Please do not beat around the bush if you want to inquire about my identity, Mr. Chu, said Tang Xiu lightly. You can directly ask me if you really want to know my identity since I'm so stupid that I don't feel like using my own brain. Chu Yuan raised his brows and said, since Mr. Tang is a straightforward person, then I'll go straight to the point. I'm very curious about you, so I want to know Mr. Tang's background. Perhaps, we can become very good friends in the future. Whether we can be friends or not, I don't know about that. But your arrival here affected my purpose in coming here. This Jade Beauty who helped me push the carts became lazy since she needed to speak with you. Due to that, shouldn't you compensate me for that given your wealth and identity, Mr. Chu? What exactly is the compensation Mr. Tang requests of me? Asked Chu Yuan with a faint smile. Well, I'm someone who's easy to be pleased, said Tang Xiu. Chu Yuan pondered for a moment before turning around and pointing to the 2 carts behind him, saying, since Mr. Tang likes to gamble on stones, how about I make it up to you with stones, Mr. Tang? After saying that, he did not wait for Tang Xiu to reply and directly spread his hand and said, please. Tang Xiu was just joking when he asked for compensation. Little did he think that Chu Yuan would take it seriously. He could even see from his face that he was not joking at all since his eyes looked especially serious. Seeing how serious Mr. Chu is, it's better to accept deferentially than to decline courteously, no? After saying that, Tang Xiu went straight to the first cart and released his spiritual sense. His fingers touched the 7 or 8 stones on top. After a short while, there was an unusual glint in his eyes as he picked up a fist-sized stone and threw it into the pile of stones belonging to him. I'll have to trouble you, Master Huang, said Tang Su. Master Huang quickly glanced at Chu Yuan and nodded with a smile, I'll do it now. Please wait a bit, Elder Huang. Chu Yuan raised his hand. Mr. Tang, since we are fated to meet here today and also have a common interest, how about we have a game of bets now? What kind of bet, exactly? Asked Tang Xiu. You have picked up a lot of stone materials, so did I. How about taking 3 pieces and handing them to Master Huang to be cut? Whoever has the higher value of what comes out of the stone will win, how about it? Tang Xiu couldn't help but chuckle and said, do you really want to gamble? Of course, said Chu Yuan straightforwardly. Also, I think we should have some profits at stake in our gambling, too. All right, you'll decide the stake, then, replied Tang Xiu without hesitation. After glancing at Shuiyu, Chu Yuan said with a smile, all right, whoever wins will get the opportunity to invite Jade Beauty to a dinner. Jade Beauty, would you be willing to give face to the 2 of us? There was a strange expression in Shuiyu's eyes as her vision went back and forth between them. Though it never crossed her mind that Chu Yuan would propose such a stake, she was well aware what his intention was, as he was only trying to win the opportunity to have dinner with her, and at the same time, won a crossing sword game against Tang Xiu. It will be my pleasure. Despite having mediocre emotional intelligence, Tang Xiu was immediately able to tell what Chu Yuan's real intention was with his extremely high IQ, so he nodded and said, all right, I agree. Without speaking more, Chu Yuan walked towards his cart. He ordered the cart pusher to unload the stones, and after observing for 2 minutes, he picked out 3 stones. I'll use these 3 pieces of stone, said Chu Yuan. I have a lot of stones here, said Tang Xiu with a nod. Master Huang, you can take 3 pieces at random. Master Huang stared blankly, while Chu Yuan frowned. Taking 3 pieces at random? What did he mean by this? Was he looking down on him or was he that confident with all the stones he personally picked? Chu Yuan saw Master Huang was looking at him with an inquiring look about his consent and immediately nodded to him. After glancing at the stone pile, Master Huang then picked up 3 pieces of stone of nearly the same size as those selected by Chu Yuan. Then he turned to Tang Xiu and asked, Divine Dr. Tang, how about these 3 pieces? It's okay, said Tang with an indifferent smile. Chu Yuan's expression suddenly moved. Divine Dr. Tang kept sounding in his mind. He instantly took out his mobile phone to read some information on it. His expression immediately turned more cautious after reading it. He suddenly felt a tinge of regret inwardly because he finally knew the identity of who Tang Xiu really was. The young divine doctor of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, the big boss behind the magnificent Tang Corporation, the offspring of the Tang family from Beijing who had just been found half a year ago, as well as the most outstanding junior of the Tang family. Being an expert who is proficient in the arts of music, paintings, and an unrivaled genius talent of many ages in the medical world. He has a very low-key disposition and yet had his reputation rise due to many incidents on many occasions. Tang Xiu himself did not know that Chu Yuan had already found out information about him within this extremely short time. He looked at Master Huang who seemed hesitant and said with a smile, Master Huang, please cut the stones belonging to Mr. Chu first. This gambling is his idea, and I also want to see his foresight too. Master Huang nodded in response. His stone-cutting technique was remarkable, as the first stone was quickly cut and revealed the jade material inside. After having it polished, he took out a thumb-sized jade material, and at the same time, also took a dozen seed material jades the size of a fingernail. Not bad, praised Tang Xiu, who stood at the side. Shuiyu, who stood on the other side, did not seem surprised since she knew that Chu Yuan had the essence knowledge on jades and stones and was unusually good on stone gambling. When Chu Yuan first left the Imperial Garden, the first windfall of wealth he earned was exactly through gambling on stones. Master Huang put down the jades taken out and continued cutting the second chunk of stone material. Sadly, though a green hue was seen inside the stone after it was cut, it was nothing but bits and pieces of stars, And its total value was not even close to the money spent to buy this stone material. The third one. When Master Huang cut the edge of the stone material, a wide and deep green color of jadeite was clearly visible. After he finished cutting it and wiped it clean, a fist-sized jadeite was then thoroughly taken out. The total value of this jadeite is at least 50 million yuan. Not only was Master Huang well skilled in cutting stones, but he was also knowledgeable in judging the value of jades and jadeites. He couldn't help but exclaim after putting it on the tray. There was a light smile on Chu Yuan's face after hearing Master Huang's remark, since the result was to his satisfaction. Of the 3 chunks of stone material he picked up, only the second one was a bit unsatisfactory, whereas the other 2 were up to the gamble. If they were to be sold, these jade and jadeite extracted from the stone materials would be worth 60 to 70 million yuan. Isn't it Mr. Tang's turn to have his stones cut, Elder Huang? The expression in Master Huang's eyes was a bit complicated. He looked at Tang Xiu, who looked unperturbed, and inquired, "Should I begin now, Mr. Tang?" "Go right ahead," replied Tang Xiu with a smile. Master Huang nodded and carefully looked at the chunk of football-sized stone material a few times before starting to cut it. After a few minutes, nearly half of the stone was cut and revealed a milky white-colored jade. Mutton fat jade? Master Huang was taken aback and skillfully wiped it. After having finished with the cutting, he finally took out 2 pieces of nut-sized mutton fat jade as well as dozens of seed jade materials. At this time, there was a surprised expression on Shui Yu's face. Her eyes observed Tang Xiu's unperturbed face, as she suddenly had some unusual feelings growing inside her heart. She faintly felt that today's gambling would be a bit funny and interesting. The expression on Chu Yuan's face did not change, but he secretly had a wry smile inside. He did not expect that Tang Xiu's luck would be that good to have mutton fat jade taken out from his first chunk of stone. Although the value was not as good as the ones he obtained, it was only the first one. There were still 2 stone materials that had yet to be cut. "Carry on," spoke Tang Xiu with a faint smile. Master Huang nodded and picked up the second chunk of stone and started to cut it. "It's red." As Master Huang's knife went down, he saw faint red traces from the stone. When he began to clean it and started to cut around it, the bright scarlet jade material was exposed to everyone. "It's blood jade, the best quality blood jade." Master Huang's voice was trembling a bit. One must know that blood jade was very precious, and the best quality blood jade was a rare, treasured object that even if one had money it was difficult to buy. For instance, the jade ornament carved from blood jade hanging on Chu Yuan's waist, its value was excessively high. With a surprised expression, Shui Yu looked at Tang Xiu's tranquil expression. She had never thought that the second chunk of stone materials bought by Tang Xiu turned out to contain blood jade, and more so that it was a blood jade of the best quality. Something feels strange. While looking at Tang Xiu's tranquil expression, there was a strange tide of mental sensation inside her heart. She knew that Tang Xiu had won even though the third stone material was uncut. Just merely this blood jade had outweighed the total value of the jade and jadeite obtained by Chu Yuan.